ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. I've chosen the topic Sangat. Now the previous group did the same topic because I think Sangat is very, very important part of Sikhi. It's what actually makes you what you are, as we'll discover, to go through the subject. Can anybody tell me what type of Sangat we can have in our daily lives? What type of Sangat?
We can or we should.
Oh no, we do.
Colleagues, work.
Colleagues at work, okay, can you write them down? Work. Would you say that was negative or positive Sangat? In terms of, is it beneficial or is it harmful?
Are you looking at in Sikhi terms of, or
Spiritual terms, yes, Sikhi terms.
then it can be negative?
But it could be neutral.
Yeah.
Work, because it's essential, you've got to do it, you've got to earn a living, so it can be neutral, but it can be negative. Positive, is it possible to be positive? Okay, in what way would you say it would be positive? In terms of Sikhi, how would it be positive?
Well, I mean, if you're working on seva, if you do
Oh yeah, brilliant, yeah.
if you're working on some with non-profit groups or something
Yes,
for
yes,
humanity,
very good.
or if you're helping people in some way,
Very good, very good.
or if the people that you work with are moral people, and they may not be Sikhs, but they may be very moral people.
So in them cases, it will be said, you could have a positive work aspect, yeah? But in general, we would say it's either neutral or negative, excluding them, that's what you mentioned, yeah? So work would be, if you put positive and negative, put work in the middle of positive, make a heading positive,
Okay.
right? And put work in the middle, it could be either way, and negative on one side. So work will put in the middle, right? Anything else that you would call your daily Sangat? Family, okay. So put work in the sort of middle of both. Where would you put family? Anybody else?
Middle.
Middle again?
Yeah.
Okay, put family in the middle. We're doing well. Okay, anything else that you would have Sangat of? Friends. Where would you put friends?
Middle again.
I can see you taking the easy route. Put it in the middle, it can go either way. Okay, put friends in the middle then. Anything else?
Teachers at college, schools.
Okay, in case a student, that's work really. So that could study, you could put study in the middle. In the middle or?
Yeah, that's in the middle.
Middle, okay, middle. Don't worry, we're going to break them down in a minute. So put in the middle, study. Student.
Yeah.
Study, okay. What about anything else?
Sangat at the temple.
Pardon?
Sangat at the temple.
Okay, Sangat at the Gurdwara, where's that one go? Positive or negative?
I think it's a
It should be positive.
So we need to be a bit careful, it's recorded, it's going on.
Well, it should be positive, but then again, really depends on the individuals, doesn't it?
Okay, where are you going to put it
Could be
then? In the middle or positive negative?
More to positive up to the middle, so...
Okay, so even Gurdwara Sangat is now in the middle of it? Okay, you're in the middle then. Anything else? Guru Granth Sahib Ji doing what? Reading Bani. So where will we put that? Positive? Everybody get on positive?
Yeah.
Okay, you're voting for it. Put it on positive. Reading Guru Bani, positive. Anything else? Anything else you do of Sangat daily that we need to mention?
TV.
I'm glad somebody mentioned that. No? We told you. You can't vote for it. We'll let the audience decide. Okay, where are we going to put TV?
Could be in the middle.
I'd go negative. It can be in the middle, but most people use it for negative.
One at a time. Okay, your turn.
Middle.
Middle. Anybody else?
Negative.
Negative.
No, but then.
Positive. You mean sick channel?
Yeah.
But exclude sick channel for a bit. General TV. Where would it go?
Negative. Negative. Yeah.
The negative then. Anything else that you do in your daily routine that is Sangat because you're actually interacting it with your mind? That's Sangat, isn't it?
It's like your neighbours, like every
Yourself.
people that you see.
Neighbours, you don't interact too much with them, do you? Not daily, surely.
No, but you see them.
Yeah, you see them, but you don't sort of converse them to that degree, do you? 45 minutes, 10 minutes, like that.
Yeah, they don't really have much of an
Okay, but
effect.
they'll be sort of neutral, won't they, neighbours? Unless they're really, you know, out and out sort of negative. Anything else?
Facebook.
Thank you. I was waiting for that when that was going to mention. Okay, Facebook. Where are we going to put that?
Negative.
No. No, middle. Middle. It depends what you like.
It's
It's your vote.
It's similar to TV though. It's similar to TV though, isn't it? It's like what you use for really.
We're not going to finish this. You know, don't worry about that. Wherever they're going to go, they're going to move. So you can decide now to put it in the right place, or it's going to be put in the place afterwards.
Middle. Middle.
Facebook is middle.
Yeah.
Okay. Before you put it, I want the argument for the middle bit. You say middle. Why?
Well, you could like get in contact with good people over it,
Okay.
and you can get in contact with bad as well. So.
Okay. Now I want you to go individual, without the fear of being condemned by anybody in here, and from your own experience of Facebook, is it negative or positive?
Negative.
Probably negative. Yeah.
Okay, you're negative. Anybody else who's negative, hands up. Okay, I'm glad you're brave to put your hands up and negative. Anybody who thinks it's positive? On a daily basis for Facebook?
Maybe on a regular basis, if you're talking to somebody that's not here,
Yeah.
for example from America or somewhere else across the world, where you're not sort of going to be, and there's like Skype calls and things, but you don't get to talk to them all the time.
Okay.
A simple message or something
Yeah, yeah.
can give
Okay.
you.
But in general, that's a bit of a, I suppose, a special case. But on general on Facebook, what do you normally do on Facebook? I mean, I haven't got an account, so I can't really talk
Gossip.
experience. Pardon?
Gossip mostly, so it's bad.
Well, he's being frank. I don't know, but he's saying gossip mostly and it's negative. Would anybody back him on that? Would anybody not back him on that? It's not gossip, and is it gossip mainly?
It is nice.
Yeah, gossip, yeah.
And would you say gossip is negative?
Yes.
Stick it in the negative then. Facebook is negative, except for your case or somebody else's case who might be doing a similar thing. Anything else that you have Sangat of every day? Maybe you do everything on Facebook now, so maybe there's no need for the other things. But I'm sure there is. I think you use other things as well.
Mobile phone.
Pardon? MSN, yes. Where's that going to go?
That's again gossip, isn't it? So
It's
No, it
gossip.
depends what you go on for though.
Okay.
It's not everybody gossips.
So can we have the positive aspect then?
You just talk to people. Like,
That's
so the people that you don't see every day,
Yes. Okay.
you can still talk to them. Like, people
But is the talk in a negative direction in terms of
It depends
sick?
what you're talking about though.
Yes, I'm getting to that. Would you say in general it's in negative direction rather than a positive direction? And it's more gossip than the actual positive outcome from your discussion. Is it just chit chat? Is it just talk? Just
Everyday talk.
pardon?
It's just everyday talk.
Everyday talk. And would you say everyday talk was beneficial in terms of the spiritual path? Pardon? I mean, we're talking about Sangat, right? And your interaction with individuals or technology has an effect on your mind.
Yeah.
Is the effect positive in terms of does it bring you near God or takes you away from God? Put it bluntly.
Okay, it takes you away.
Pardon?
In a sense, it takes you away.
Takes you away. Negative.
does that make
MSN
sense?
is negative. So, what about mobile phones? Is the same thing with mobiles? I mean, I assume you get all these on the mobile now, can't you? Facebook and...
But if you've got good money anywhere and like you get ICT applications.
Well, we're going to exclude that. We're going to exclude this little minor things that these fools do have. I'm on about general. Now, obviously, individuals will have a positive aspect from that gadget, but I'm on about our general audience. What do they do on them, right? And that's what matters. I, as an individual, could use a TV to watch Kirtan, but that's not going to be representative, is it? It's the audience that and I think in general, if we took a consensus, you'd be using the mobile for gossip or just talking. Am I right? Or texting. Again, probably gossip. It would be a positive thing. In general, I'm on about, not specifically. Well, you've got to get individuals who are going to use it quite sensibly and quite wisely. So, have we got mobile there?
Negative, yeah.
Negative?
Yeah.
Anything else that you do in the day that you call that Sangat?
What about internet?
Yeah,
Internet?
content and MSN and stuff.
So that's it.
Well, we could put internet there. Would you say that was in general negative?
Could be
That could be in the middle. That could be in the middle.
But in general?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not here to point fingers at anybody because I know it's done. And from your own individual, would you say you spend more time on the internet on a negative basis rather than a positive outcome?
In general, I spend like middle really. I would say middle because you do both.
You
Like
do
you
both.
can do research for like studies and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that's work. That we put that in a neutral or slightly might be positive, but the hours you spend on the internet, is there any positive outcome out of that? Yes.
No, because there's so much available on the internet. I mean, for someone like me,
Yes.
I'm studying Punjabi now,
Yeah.
and for me to be able to find out, it's a very good resource.
Yes. Yes.
So actually, it's
positive.
very
Positive.
positive
It
for
is,
me
it
in
is.
a lot of ways.
Yes.
Although I spend probably too much time looking things up on Wikipedia.
Yes.
So it's negative in that it can waste your time.
Yes.
But it's positive in that I can.
You
find
could
things
use it
out. I
for
use
a
it
positive
a
aspect.
lot. I use it a lot. So.
For a positive aspect, you can use that. But you as an individual, we might be very similar in terms of what we use it for. But in general, the youngsters especially, I don't think they spend that much time on a positive aspect. It's more of a negative aspect they use the internet for. It's just either just searching for things that really aren't that valuable, but just passing time sort of thing. So I think if we're honest, internet would probably go on the negative side, wouldn't it? Yeah? Put it there then. Anything else?
Music.
Music, yes. What about music? Where does that go? In the
That's
middle?
half and half.
Pardon?
It's half and half because it depends what you listen to. It's like
Okay.
musicals.
Excluding Kirtan part and Katha,
Then
where would the rest go?
Negative, definitely.
Pardon? Say again?
Classical music.
Classical music, you mean without any words?
No,
I suppose you could say neutral. Suppose you could say neutral for that. But once you put words to it, right, then the words will have an effect on your mind, whatever the words are. So excluding, well, classical could go in the middle, but excluding Kirtan, Katha and part, then it's got to go in the negative music.
But does that hold true for books as well?
Well, we're going to do that. We haven't mentioned books yet. Books is next
So
now.
books really-
I'm assuming the youngsters don't read much books anyway, so they might not be in that league. Books. How many read books on a daily basis?
Not one thing.
Oh, sort of, a small percentage. So books. Would you say they were neutral, negative, or positive?
Neutral.
Yeah. It just depends what you're really reading.
Exactly. Excluding
Oh, good.
excluding books on Sikhi or on spirituality.
Negative.
How's it negative?
No,
Yeah,
they
but
can
then
still
you-
be positive books.
Pardon?
There can be still positive books. 'Cause
Okay. Can you explain how they can be positive? How will they bring you near God?
Oh, near God, then no.
I think we are. Oh, let me just explain this. I think Guru Nanak Dev Ji came into this world to bring the world near God. That was the whole mission. You know, there were other paths existing then saying, we can get to God. And Guru said, you made it so complex, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
Look inside you, search inside you, and see your character. If the character is not pure, then God's not going to be there. Though God is there, you're not going to see Him. And what had happened before, you see, their character, inner character had become discoloured. It had become ritual. It had become sort of obsessed with what they were doing rather than thinking the bigger picture. The bigger picture was, all are children of God. That's what Guru Dan said. Guru Dan said, when he came out of the river, he said, there is no Muslim, no Hindu. And they were shocked. He said, how can you say that? There's 1,000 Hindus and 1,000 Muslims in this city, in this town. He says, no, only by name they're Muslims and Hindus. The real, original thought that the founders put in has diminished. Just the ritual left. So when we talk about Sikhi, we're talking about the positive aspect that brings us near Guru Nanak's path. So anything that takes us away from that path, right, has to be a negative. Yes?
I don't mean to disagree.
No, you have your say.
But for example, works of art, works of literature that are beautiful.
Yes.
They're created by people who are imbued with a really great gift.
Yes.
Vahiguruji.
Yes.
So, to me, if I'm reading something that's beautiful, it's beautifully written, and it doesn't say anything negative,
Yes.
then, to me, that's a beautiful aspect of Vahiguruji. Maybe that's how I'm interpreting it.
No, I would argue with that. I think if your mind is seeing through that literature the work of Waheguru through that, then I suppose you can get a positive aspect on that. But how many are like that? How many actually just enjoy the literature for literature's sake or the story's sake, rather than saying, hey, look how the mind of this person worked with Waheguru's grace. And that's the problem. That very few can actually... It's like the saint looking at a beautiful lady and saying, isn't God beautiful? Look what He's made. And praising God in that beauty. And the non-saint, let's call him not a saint, he would say something very rude or something very crass and saying, totally coming down in base. Whereas the saint would say, yes, I have no connection with that person, but God shows His beauty. So yes, but they are far and few. We're faced with the problem of what's happening today amongst ourselves and our youth. And we have to say the literature today that we read is probably negative.
Well, sometimes you have to look at the bad stuff to actually gain that spirituality, so you see all the bad things, all the negative things, and then you go to the other side. If you look at the bad things and you realise what's bad about them, only then you seem to connect with the good side.
Well, there is that argument that you have to experience the bad to know the good. The only problem with that is that many people can't come back once they experience the bad, because the bad is so strong in terms of attraction, you can't break away from it. And all the saints say, you're not the master of your destiny or your mind. So if you say, okay, I'm going to experience this side just for knowledge's sake, right? You don't know when your mind is going to take that in and say, hey, this is good, I'll stay here, rather than move back. And you might think, I'm a strong character. No way. Time and time again, the great saints and Guru have shown us, nobody is that strong. Maya, the punch, can take anybody. And the reason I'm saying this is, I'll give you an example. Have you heard about Baba Harnam Singh, Rampur Khede Bhai? Anybody heard of Baba Harnam Singh? Sheikh Neha. Okay, somehow. Sheikh Neha is a beautiful book written by Sant Seva Singh about Baba Harnam Singh, who was a great Sikh saint. And he did meditation beyond what any normal person could do. Basically 24/7. And that is very hard to do. Because he didn't get married, he just wanted to do bhakti. And so during his meditation, during his bhakti, he achieved quite a high stage in spirituality. And when he was doing his bhakti, he had a voice in his head saying, Harnam Singh, go to this place, you've got to do prachar there. That's your next mission. Go to this particular place and make that place inhabitable and do prachar there. And so he took that as Guru's command. So where he was, he moved from that to the new place, but the new place was like a jungle. It wasn't a town. It was in the middle of fields, but it was left unmanaged. It was like a jungle, but it was sort of fearful jungle. Nobody dared go inside it because they knew it was possessed. People had actually, been harmed from that place. So Babaji came there. He knew his mission was to stay there, so he couldn't avoid it. He had some associates who admired him, and he said to them, "Look, I've got to stay here. There's a hill here. Can you make me a cave in this hill? I can put my small bed in here and do my bhakti here, because that's the hukum I've got." So they started building this cave, and this old gentleman was passing by. He said, "I've been watching you for a couple of days making that hole in that hill." He said, "Whatever your intentions are, it's not going to work." He said, "Why?" He said, "Many have come here. They're gone, run away. Nobody stayed." He was trying to be sympathetic. He said, "Look, don't bother. You're not going to last." And Babaji, he didn't know it was Babaji he was talking to. He said, "Whoever's made their mind to stay, I'm sure they will stay." So when the place was ready, Babaji put his manjao, Indian bed sort of thing, in there, and his associates went away. He was on his own at night. He's doing his bhakti, and the spirits come. First spirit comes is a Muslim, and it says to Babaji, "What are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. This is my place. I've been here for hundreds of years. You've got to go." And Babaji said, "I'm sorry, but my orders are to stay here. I can't go." And the spirit said, "If you can't go, I have to go, because what you're reading is hurting me." Babaji was part. He said, "What you're reading is hurting me. I can't stay while you're here, so you have to go." Babaji said, "I'm sorry, I can't go. It's your choice whether you stay or go. I'm not saying you go, but it's your choice." And the fakir sort of thing, the spirit says, "Well, I've got to go then." He said, "Well, up to you." So he goes away. Now, had it been any one of us, upon seeing the spirit talk, we would have probably ran the fastest mile that we could ever run. God, where's he come from? I came into the part, right, and achieved something, but this is totally different to what I attempted. That's Babaji, right? No fear whatsoever. Sat there. Next night, Hindu spirits come. Hindu saint, previous night. And there's more than one now, there's others behind him. And said, "You can't stay here, it's our place." And the same comes and takes place. He said, "No, I can't go, I've got to stay here." He said, "Anyway, what are you doing here?" To the Hindu saint. He says, "I was their guru, but I was a hypocrite, and they followed me. So none of us have achieved anything, which is wandering souls now. They follow me wherever I go." But we said, "Oh, I'm not moving from here." Then in a sort of begrudging voice, said, "Well, we'll have to go then." He said, "Well, that's your choice." So they went as well. The moral here is that any one of us would have run away from that place for the first night, no matter the next night. But here's a saintly Gursikh who's managed to overcome that fear of spirits with the grace of Guru, with the kamai and the spiritual state he had. Sometime later, he hears another voice. He says, "Harnam Singh, watch out. Maya's coming." Now we give no real importance to Maya. What's Maya? Money. Big deal. Who don't want money? We want lottery wins. So we actually worship it rather than, here's Bhai Harnam Singh being warned, Maya's coming. And Bhai Sahib thought, well, fair enough, I should do my bhakti, And he's doing his bhakti, doing the meditation, and an old lady's coming. And he knows Maya, and he's doing it bhakti, and he's concentrating on his Simran, and the lady comes and sits near him. He carries on, lady goes away. And for one moment, Babaji thought, thanks, I've overcome Maya. Within seconds, a young lady is coming, totally beautiful, and dancing toward Babaji. Babaji tries everything that he has in his sort of capacity of Simran, right, to detach himself from that. Can't do it. He tries to make it go away. Keeps coming near. When he's so near, Babaji realizes he has no strength whatsoever to overcome Maya. Now what do you think he does in that situation? Runs away? What do you think he does? The one word that is very, very misunderstood and misused. The most powerful tool that a Gursikh has is ardas, prayer. From the depth of his heart, with tears coming down, he prayed to Guruji. He said, please forgive me. I have no strength to overcome that. With seconds, whose hand was over him, Maya went away. So don't ever think you can win Maya. Can't. And Maya is everything. Everything we mentioned there is Maya. Everything you got there, negative, positive, not the positive, but everything in the middle and the negatives is all Maya. Even the positive can be Maya. If you're a Kirtaniya and you get praise, you get Suksham Homi, Maya. If you're a Parthi and you get praise and you think you're the best Parthi, Maya. If you're a Kathakar, you get praise and you think you're the best Kathakar, you're somebody, Maya. So if you want to experience Maya, don't ever think you can escape it. All great souls have said, do not go near it. But Kabir says, Kabir, sakat sang na kijiye, durman jaiye bhag, bartan karo parsiye kashok lage dag. He says, do not go near the person who is ungodly, who doesn't believe in God. He will drive you away from your faith. He will weaken your faith. It's like when you walk past a pot which is black because the soot is collected from the burning. You go past it and you're close to shit, you get black. It's just the same way, in an invisible way, the sakat will affect your thinking. Now, you had a very good example from Bhai Joginder Singh yesterday about that young lad in Canada who went on the atheist site. Remember it? Mm-hmm. And he read about a paragraph of it and he shook his faith and he stopped believing in Gurbani, power or God.
So you're saying we shouldn't go near an atheist because they can drive us away from religion?
I'm saying we should be on our guard at all times of any court, not just atheists, any quarters that can shake our faith. Only a Brahmgyani, and even Babaji struggled. Only Guru is the supreme power that Maya can't affect. Anyone underneath, Maya can affect it.
So you reckon we can't help them out?
I think if you do seva in the Guru's name and you are totally inside feeling nothing, that you are nothing, you are carrying out the Guru's seva, then there's a chance that through Guru's grace you might save that person. But I'm afraid to get to that level you have to do a lot of bhakti. It's not going to come because of your gyan or your knowledge. It's going to come because you have to surrender yourself to Guruji. And then it's Guru's work, not yours. Then it's not so-and-so did it, Guruji did it. Then, oh the ki, sara sansar tar sakda, koda raksh tar sakda, the sajan thak tar sakda. You know, then a thief, a murderer can become a saint. But you've got to be at that level But if you're below that level, you be on your guard. And that's why Guruji gave us a fence around our spirituality. What's that fence? Yes, besides that, the physical fence. The bana, the panchakars, the most misunderstood symbols that we wear. Each article of faith has a very, very deep significance. Guru Gobind Singh Ji did not just give that bana to make a faith, just to be different. There's a purpose for each and everything we have. Let's start with the kesh. Guruji didn't give us kesh. Kesh was there already. Every baby is born with kesh. We actually cut it. We actually do something different to it. But we are born with kesh. Guru says, keep them as they are. Leave them as they are. Why? All saints of all religions, all founders, if you look at their history, are shown with long hair. In other words, they all kept the form that God gave them. A saintly. In fact, in the old days, the punishment for somebody was, if they wanted to punish him severely in the community, cut his hair. That was like a death sentence. Instead of killing him, cut his hair. Now, it's the custom. The Guru says, no, I want you to remember every day that you are a saint first. Your kesh, your long hair, should remind you that you are a saint. The Guruji didn't say, keep long hair. He says, no. As a householder, as a worker, you need to keep them tidy. Can't have long hair all over the place. He says, wear the star, this crown. Why? Because at that time the rulers said only the Muslims could wear the stars as a suppression. So no, Guru said, no, my Khalsa would wear this crown on their heads. Nobody will take it off. There's no two thoughts on this, that the star or keski is an integral part of red. You can't cover the hair without the star. It's unfortunate that in our history, going back about 60, 70 years ago, our leaders became weak and they discarded the keski or bibiyan. But keski always been an essential part of red. Always will be. And Guru says, not only that, so you don't have to look around, say, I'm going to keep my hair tidy. There's a comb to go with it. Keep them tidy every day, twice a day. Comb your hair. Twice a day, tie the star. Be proud of it. Then Guru said, that's your saintly appearance for the world and for you, to remind you that you are a saint first. Your character should be above others. Here's your underwear, kashera. I mean, in those days it wasn't underwear, it was just kashera. Nowadays, obviously, you wear clothes over it, it's become an underwear. He said the kashera will remind you of your high moral character that you have to be a saint. You will look at other ladies as per their age as daughters, sisters and mothers. Only your wife is the lady that you look at as a wife, none others. And same for ladies, as per age they look at other men as sons, brothers or father figures. Really raising the moral character of the Khalsa, the pure one. Remember, Khalsa means? So Guruji now is given the massive fence, saying this fence will ensure you stay pure. Of course, Guruji, all knowing, knew that time would come when you have to protect that fence. So here's the kirpan. Not a talwar, not a dagger, not a knife. Kirpan means, kirpa means grace, bakshish, blessing. To bless somebody, you only use it in the hour of need. You do not attack, you defend. You stand up for the weak and the meek. And you stand up for your own right as well. The perfect, pure person. Could you stop there? Says, if any temptations come to you, I'm going to put a chain on your hand, the kara, to remind you, you are chained by the Guru to stop you doing anything that is irreligious, that is wrong, stealing, grabbing, trying to covet somebody else's belongings. The kara reminds you that that's a kadi around you, that's a Guru's handcuffs on your arm. The invisible sort of force that Guru has given you to make you become pure. How many of us still think like that? Or the kakars? Some people think, oh, I don't like long hair, Mummy, I'm going to have a cut. And I sort of become sad that the poor soul never knew the value of these gifts from Guruji. For those that knew the value, like Bhai Taru Singh, and to me, Bhai Taru Singh is the pinnacle of Sikhi. No saint can match him, even today's. No Paisa, no saint can match him. I'll tell you why in a minute. Bhai Taru Singh's only crime was that he used to feed the Singhs in the jungle. Prashada. That's his only crime. He used to help every person in the village, whether it be Muslim or Hindu, as much as he could to alleviate their needs or pain or requirements. And the whole village used to respect him like a saint, God, holy, you name it. He had that much respect. But you always get in the garden of flowers thorns. And there were few thorns. One of them reported by his activities of feeding these things in the jungle. Even though he used the connection to actually help the poor in getting their rights, they said he helps the Singhs. So the governor of Lahore sent an army out to arrest Bhai Sahib. Bhai Sahib was in his fields doing his cultivating and all that, and the army came to the village, said, where is he? And a young man ran to Bhai Sahib and said, Bhai Sahib, run away from here. They're here to arrest you. What was Bhai Sahib's reply? What was his reply? Did he run away? Why didn't he run away? He could have run away. Why didn't he?
Didn't do anything wrong.
Pardon?
He didn't do anything wrong.
Well, that's true, but they were there to arrest him, and obviously they didn't care whether he did anything wrong or not. The charges were there. Why didn't he run away?
Guru's partner.
He was Guru's partner, but more than that. In this particular bit is the most noble deed he did. He said, if I run away, the whole village will suffer. They'll arrest the whole village, punish him till you tell where I am. He said, I can't have that on my soul. I will accept Guru's partner, but I will not let the village suffer. How many of us can do that? How many of us can actually say sincerely we would do that to others? That's where Sikhi is. We survive because of them. Not because of our actions, because of their Qurbaniya. When he was arrested, he was taken to Lahore, and The rulers are cruel. They gave him two options. Either accept Islam or face death. No hearing whether he was guilty or not, didn't care. Accept Islam or face death. When I hear youngsters wanting to cut their hair, I think there was no Sikhi there in the first place. If there was Sikhi of Bhai Taru Singh's, he chose death. He could have chosen Islam, another path to in their own way to God. He said, no. He only died once. I could not go to Guru's court by how could I show my face? He said, no, death is dearer to me, Sikhi is dearer to me than death. You do what you like. And so the governor said to the barber, cut his hair off. Can I Sikhi bahut baddi hai, his Sikhi is so great. If Sikhi is in his case, cut him off. We'll see where his Sikhi is. And history said they could not cut his hair. They became like uncuttable wires. The Baba said, I can't cut them. My instruments are failing. Then the cruel governor said, take his scalp off to the butcher. That's what they did. They took Paisa's scalp off. He didn't die then. After they did that cruel and terrible deed, what was the crime? Feeding needy Gursikhs. They threw him in near sort of a dirty place. The Paisa just sat there and in his meditation. Within hours, the governor was in agony with pain in his stomach. And his urine stopped. He couldn't pass urine. He tried the top doctors, everything. They could not cure him. And then somebody said to him, some wise person, you have committed the most greatest sin. That was a saint that you tortured. He hasn't cursed you, but you've been cursed by your own actions. Only he can now help you. So they sent that wise person to Bhai Sahib. And Bhai Sahib didn't reply, but then they asked some of the Gursikhs and they said, take his shoe, Bhai Sahib. Put down his head. Bang on his head. That'll make him pass his water. And they came back. The more they hit him, the more relief he got. But Bhai Sahib had said before he was sculpted that you will go before me to answer for your deeds. And history has proved the governor died before Bhai Sahib passed away. That's the power of the true saint. We don't even know what the value of Sikhi is today. Our past forefathers gave everything. You know, that was okay, a male person. But look at the Bibia. Same period, Mir Mannu now decided he hunted all the males and they go to the jungles, rest their wives who were in their houses. He rested the Singhiya with their babies. Same choice, no crime. Crime is to sick him, you are sick. So Sikhi mein khatam kar diya. Finish Sikhi off. Accept Islam or death. The Biblia said, you know our choice, Sikhi. You accept death. He said, it's not easy as that. He said, kill their babies in front of them first. See how they accept death then. The murderers took the babies by force from their mothers and threw them in the air and speared them. And then cut them into pieces. And put a thread around the pieces and put them down their necks. He says, that's your Sikhi. You know how we think we're strong Sikhs? Maria Dokhonana, we get a bit of illness, a bit of pain. Rab kithe Guru meri ardas nahi suni. Guru hai nahi ho. Ani nahi banayi gal, Rab hai nahi ho. Our forefathers is on their qurbaniyan that Sikhi survives, not on our actions. We cannot thank them enough. We cannot praise them enough. That's why Khalsa put them in our ardas. That's why our prayer contains all their qurbaniyan, not our actions, their qurbaniyan. When you do your ardas, think about it. Don't just read it, don't just say it. Baba ji main ardas kar liya. Think of every word you're reciting in the ardas. And slow down. Ardas should take at least 6-7 minutes, not 2 minutes. They're all in there. Our past forefathers, mothers, qurbaniyan. And he did that. He put the piece of the babies on their necks. You know what they said? Manu asadi datri asi manu de soe jo manu badda asi dune chone hoye. Says we're the crops that Manu is cutting away. But as he cuts us, we increase even more. He will not finish us. History says at that time the Khalsa was just in thousands. That many have been shaheed. In their thousand total, numbers are just thousands. And yet their faith was that strong, said, you can cut us to pieces, but Sikhi will survive. We would have said, where was Guruji then when the babies were being cut? Why did he show any power? Why did he destroy the evil people? What do they say? Tera kiya meetha lage. Har naam padarth nanak mange. Don't ever underestimate your Sikhi, our forefathers. It's thanks to them that I'm here. Whenever I feel down, I read their life stories to uplift my spirit. When I have doubts, I look at their sacrifice and say, what the hell is my doubts? What have I suffered? We don't suffer here, we enjoy ourselves. We have all the luxuries of life can give us. We still moan and groan. Sikhi is all about thanks. Thanking Guruji for his gifts. Even when there is supposedly torture and death. Look at our Sahibzade. What was the ages? The young Sahibzades? 6 and 8? Our kids don't even know, what death is. They spend most of the time watching cartoons all day. Or other programs. And here's the Guru's sons faced with a choice, Islam or death. They said, death. Now some could say, where was Guruji? Why didn't Guruji save them? That's called a doubt. And they would say, you murk, Guru was with us all the time. It was his strength that we endured all that. It was his blessing that we could go through that path of martyrdom. Sangat. We have the choice. Only we can decide individually what is positive and what is negative. Anything that weakens your Sikhi is negative. If you can turn into a positive, whatever it is, internet, you can turn to a positive, then you're making some use of that. TV, if you turn to a positive, you're making some use of it. If you're wasting your time on all these negatives and their own negatives, your Sikhi will not go strong, it will go weak. Your love for Gurbani will not last. It will not increase, it will decrease. That's why I always say to everybody, he who has not read his history, his Sikhi cannot be strong. Anybody can take his hand and take away, because he hasn't got that inner strong foundation built on their sacrifices. to read the right books, do read the right stories, do watch the right movies. By Taru Singh, now is a by Bismarck Productions, a cartoon movie. So is Bibi Sundari. So is the Sahibzade. So is Baba Bandar Singh Bahadur for Raj the Khalsa. Beautiful productions that need to be watched again and again and again. And trust me, all your questions and your doubts will disappear. Because then you realize where you come from. And if the worst comes to you, say, Guru mere naal hai, doesn't matter. One day I'm going to die anyway. Why not die in Guru's name? Well, it doesn't matter. Tell me more somebody who thinks you're not going to die here. Is there anybody who thinks he's going to die in his 90s? Or his 80s? Well, the bad news is there's no guarantee. We could die tomorrow, even in a second we could die. Guru said that hum aadmi ha ek dami. Dam kiya, sa aaya, ka na aaya. You have a breath or no breath. And I'm sure you've read of cases, you've probably seen cases where people were once getting, okay, next second, heart attack, bang. 4 fellas dead. Or brain hemorrhage, dead. Takes a second to take life away. Why not die with Guru's name on our lips? Then die just an ordinary death, and then to go into a cycle of births and deaths again and again, again and again, with no escape. This illusion of Maya is our biggest enemy. That's keeping us away from Guru. The only way you can break that illusion is to create your inner strong foundation based on Guru's path, based on the sacrifices of our forefathers, based on the great lives of saints and Guru Sikhs. That's how you build that strong foundation for love for Gurbani and Kirtan. There's no other simple way. You think you're going to learn Kirtan from a Ragi or somebody else, you're going to become a great, forget it. You learn the art, but you won't become great inner-wise. You can only learn that from the true Kirtaniya, who did Kirtan for love, not for money. Once Kirtan becomes Maya orientated, then it's another just Maya thing. Any questions? I'm not saying you shouldn't try. I'm just saying be on your guard. If you're trying to have a discussion with somebody, be on your guard that he might be 10 times cleverer than you, with more questions, with more doubts, that you run out of answers and the doubts come inside you. Be prepared for that. Guruji's warning to us is stay away. Lest you are... One person, again, Baba Harnam Singh's book, he was an officer in a government department, and these two Guru Sikhs who admired Babaji used to be really, really sick of this person. We used to bother with stupid questions on religion, really pester them, and they were really annoyed by them. And one day they said, why don't you go to Babaji, he'll answer your questions. He said, you Babaji. He says, I've seen them all. I said, well, what's the harm? Go and see him. He says, okay, one day I will go and see you, Baba. But I don't think you're going to answer my questions. And he goes to Rampur Kheda. He goes in the Sangat, does Matha, listen to the Katha. And he's just going away then. And one of his work associates that used to work under him, he's there doing seva. He says, oh, you're going away. You see Babaji? He says, yeah, Babaji doing Katha, I've just seen him. He says, no, that's not Babaji. That was just one of the Guru Sikhs doing Katha. Oh, so where's Babaji? Because he's in his room. Oh, so says, okay, before I go and see him as well. He always on about Babaji. He goes in there. And Babaji asks, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. Not saying a lot. And he said, Babaji sort of took him into his Gulbakri ride, sort of in his hug. He gave him a bit of a hug. He didn't ask another question. He just sat there after the hug. He couldn't ask anything. And he went and he said, he went away, and suddenly there was a change in the office. He's not asking any silly questions now. And he said to them, he said to your wife, don't pester me, I'm going to do something in my room, don't bother me. I guess I met them go to car, started doing part. This guy used to take the mickey out of people doing part, right? When some time later, that Gusik asked him, what happened to you? He said, well, I went to Babaji, something happened to my body. So that hug, like a current coming through my body, right? It just removed all my doubts. And then he went back and said, Babaji, can you do ardas for me that I may receive Guru's darshan? Babaji said, I don't mind doing ardas for you. What should I say to Guruji? Who are you? Tum Guru ki lagda? What are you to Guruji? Babaji, I don't understand what you mean. What relation you have with the Guru? Tu Guru wala baniya? Babaji said, nahi, main Guru wala baniya nahi. कहते तुम अमर शक तू गुरु वाला बन फिर मैं कह रहा था बाबा जी तेरा आया ये तेरा बने आया फिर मैं अरदास कर दो फिर मैं की अरदास करा what अरदास मुझे do went to upset with Mrs. We're going to take Amrit. The guy used to take the mickey out of Sikhi. He used to distress these two workers in the office. His missus was shocked. She said, can't believe it. What did they do to him? Him taking Amrit. It's like the sun coming out the other side, from the west instead of the east. He said, no, it's true, I'm taking Amrit. So, those that have the spirituality, they don't show it. But they can change somebody with a hug. Or just a touch. They don't do it that often. But if they're in their boys, they might do. So all my gyan, all my sort of talk, one very little effect. You get a true Gurmukh here, he might just sit there quietly. His vibes might even affect all of you. And that's our journey, to get to that level. No, have these silly questions in our head and silly doubts. मैं किस रखा कि ना रखा, मैं अमर शका कि ना, do I take Amrit, do I do part or not? The journey is beyond that. You got to give yourself up to Guruji, not just doing these little minor things. Your own self has to be given to Guruji. In other words, your character. Maharji, I have a bad character here, dono changa bana de. That's what we do when we take Amrit. When we do Peshi for Amrit, has anybody taken Amrit here? How many taken Amrit here? Well, obviously you're all aware of that. Now when you take Amrit, they say to you, you've got to give your head to the Guru. Are you prepared to give your head? And you all say, okay, they got swords, they're going to cut my head off now. Oh no, I was told outside, it's safe. I can give my head. Yes, man, Haji, they said them to and you were sort of saying, okay, I've survived, not getting my head off. But what you didn't realize was the question wasn't really like that. Though physically, yes, you might have to one day. What really was, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਰਚ ਖੋਪਰੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੇਰੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਆ ਉਹ ਦਊਂਗਾ ਗੁਰੂ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਲਊਂਗਾ are you going to accept Guru's wisdom and give yours to Guru leave it there we never thought like that we said ਚਲੋ ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਸਿਰ ਤੇ ਲੱਗੇਗਾ ਸਿਰ ਕੱਟਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਿਰ ਹੈਗਾ ਠੀਕ ਆ we should carry as we are so no change comes and probably Panj Pyare are slightly not correct by not spelling it out so look yes one day you might have to give your head physically, but literally it means that you have to give your thoughts here, leave them here, take Guru's thoughts now, and change your character. Because once you change your character, no power in the world is going to change you. Because now Guru is character. How can you change Guru? तो मैं कुछ कर नहीं रहा, तो गुरु करा रहा. ये तो गुरु ने बनाया, मेरे थोड़ा बनाया. ये तो गुरु yes.
Translations, I've read that when you take Amrit, you have to go through the Amrit Nishad. That well, the most people say that your sins are all completely washed away from this life and all last life as well.
Okay.
And I was just wondering, is that how it is, or am I misunderstanding it? Are all your sins completely wiped?
Well, I've had the same saying. So that's the good news. Now you're asking me to define whether what the saying is right or wrong. It's right if, and there's a big if you give your character to Guruji, that character contains all your past sins. That's made you that character. If you are fortunate enough with Guru's blessing to give that character there and then, that's gone. So where's your sins? But if you don't, and you maintain your character, and you come out of there, having taken Amrit, but also retaining your character, then I'm afraid it could take a long time before that reality dawns. So it is Guru's grace, but also the individual. Any individual who's really prepared himself for Amrit beforehand and really worked hard in terms of Guru, receiving Guru's blessing, praying for it, and becomes very thirsty for Amrit, he does everything literally that he needs to do, including ardas, so that he nearly becomes pure before he goes to the Amrit. His sins are gone.
Apparently the rule these days is that you should just go into the deep end and just take Amrit.
Well, yes, the rule these days is that nobody wants to wait that long for preparation.
Because you don't have to practice your Panjabani or your nickname, and so it doesn't matter whether people do that or not.
The reason for that is simple. The other path is a very arduous path. It's a very hard path, and most will give up before they even reach the stage where they're ready for Amrit. So they've made this concession that the majority will have to take Amrit beforehand, then work hard afterwards. I was just answering the BB's answer that in that odd case where somebody has already prepared very, very well and they manage to give their character to Guruji, for them the sins are gone. On the general case where they say you can take Amrit, then work hard, then it will depend on how hard they work before the sins are gone, if they go. Because sometimes you take Amrit, you don't work so hard, you go back to your bad ways.
So what's your opinion? Should you do it before or should you do it after?
I always say I'm a bad person for that one. I always say prepare first. Now, it might be a bad answer, but I say if you really love the Guru, prepare yourself. Right? And that way, your ground is prepared for the Amrit. You know what paths you're following. But having said that, I have had brothers who took my own dear friend who took Amrit with me in 1970. He was a clean-shaven Munna one night before taking Amrit. He had a barrel of beer in his house fermenting. He dropped that down the drain. He had just one tape of Katha, Gyani Molak sings. He said to his missus, I'm taking Amrit. He said, don't be stupid, you're taking Amrit. You shave every day, you drink every day. You must be mad. He said, I'm telling you, I'm taking Amrit tomorrow. He said, don't be silly. You'll break it. He said, no, I made my mind up. And he's one of the cases I can say did succeed. But very far afield. He was extraordinarily determined. So yeah, it is. The situation is that I have sympathy for both points of view, because sometimes you don't know how long that person is going to live. If I said to you, you must prepare for 3 years, and you die in between the 3 years without taking Amrit, right? And you have to come back. So maybe their argument is, give them the Amrit, then let them work hard at it. So I have sympathy for both views. Though my preference is that you should prepare at least for a certain time before you take Amrit.
So we give more importance to the Amrit than what I have.
I give both.
How prepared do you have to be?
Only the individual or the Gurmukh or the Panjapyari can work that out. I think in terms of a general answer, you should be wearing your kakars. You should be able to do your Nitnem with a certain amount of correctness. Should acharn. You should start memorizing your Nitnem. You should be doing some Simran, however you can do it. Some Mool Mantra part. You should be doing some Seva. And you should have read most of your history. So you're fully aware of the Guru's path. Now, having said that, it can take a long time for some people. Others, it might not take so long. I mean, I was fortunate that Guruji gave me this opportunity to prepare. I mean, in 1968, 67, in Leicester, there's about 2 Gursikhs who had the star on their head. The rest of them Munni, including me. So I prepared from that background by reading loads of books from the Gurdwara library, however they had in those days. And I was fortunate that Guruji blessed me with this initial sort of preparation. But nobody can be fully prepared. Don't get me wrong. You can never ever be fully prepared. I mean, Bhai Sahib Ranveer Singh, the sort of founder of Akhand Yatha, in his time, they would insist, if anybody wants to take Amrit, they would have to sit through a whole Akhand Path, 48 hours or 46 hours, however long it took, from start to finish, before they could give an Amrit. They were that strict. But obviously nowadays, that strictness doesn't apply. But obviously, in those days, those that took Amrit were of a very high spiritual stature than probably these days. Because as you make things easier, right, the character also comes down as well. No, you can't go back. Yes?
Somebody asked me, and I don't really know what to say to them. They were Sikh and they said to me, because you take Amrit, does that mean that you eternally live? Or what about those people that break that Amrit then?
Say that again, sorry.
So if you take Amrit, it's like Amrit feels similar to you, and then you eternally live, like, is it literal?
Well, I think a bit of common sense applies there. The body will perish.
No, I mean like...
Yeah, I'll say that. The human body will perish. So everybody thinks that they will live forever with this human body. Got the wrong translation. What will happen is that as they given you Amrit Khande Bhatteda, right, and they give you Amrit Naam, if with Guru's Kirpa, your spiritual vasta becomes high and you can taste the nectar from the Amrit Naam, then your union with the Supreme Soul happens, then you're forever.
But what about people that break that Amrit, then they don't get that?
When we say they break that Amrit, what we're really saying, they have lost the possibility of achieving that goal. When you take Amrit, you have that possibility of achieving oneness with Vaheguru. That's your path. Yeah? You break your head, you break your Amrit, what you're really saying, Guruji, I don't really care about your path, I'm not interested. And what should Guruji be interested in? Your choice.
Because I know a lot of people that haven't taken Amrit,
Yeah.
and they're probably not like, they don't put the hair and things, but they do a lot of bad.
Then their preparation is very good.
So then would they have the option of getting eternal life? Like,
They would have to take Amrit either this life or next life, but it will be a lot easier for them because the preparation is already there of the immense part they're doing.
But to get to that point, you have to take Amrit.
Yes, because Guru Gobind Ji said that Rehni Rahe Soi Sikh Mera O Sai Main Uska Chera Rehat Pyari Mujhko Sikh Pyara Nahe Panch Singh Amrit Jo Deve Ta Ko Sir Tar Shak Pun Leve Pun Mil Pancho Reh Jo Bhakhe Ta Ko Drid Kar Man Mein Rakhe. The Panch Pyare give Amrit, every Guru Sikh has to take it. And the wonderful example is Guruji himself. Poor in all ways, complete in every way, one with God. He said, no, to set an example. As I've given you Panch the Amrit, now please bestow it on me. And Guruji became Guru Gobind Singh instead of Guru Gobind Rai. So who are we to say, I do loads of parts, so therefore I don't take Amrit. If I do loads of part and I would love for Guruji and say, Guruji, jo ji hukum kar diya, sir mathe, I'll accept it. We would even question, wouldn't we?
So every single soul is going to have to keep going through birth and death until they get Amrit in my life.
That's what Gurbani is saying. Without Satguru, you cannot be saved. And Sadhguru Guru Gobind Singh Ji left this Maryada for eternity, that you will have to follow this path. I'm not going to say I am better than them because I've taken it that they haven't taken it. I could be worse than them. What I'm saying is the Guru's instructions are that anybody wants to have salvation and become one with Vaheguru, then he has to follow that path. It's not my path. It's Guru's. As Bhai Sahib was saying in his lecture this morning, he said that you have to follow what Guruji says. Yes.
So you can't go to Bigapur Share and become one with God without taking Amrit.
Say that again.
You can't go to Bigapur Share.
Big or Begumshire.
That's right, yeah. And become one with God without taking that Amrit.
Gee, taking this Amrit is not a ritual.
Well, we treat it like a ritual these
Well,
days.
that's our problem, not Guru's. Guru says, Amrit pivo, sadachar jivo, har simrat anand ananta. Doesn't he? Rank tamasha purna asa kavena pyape chinta. It's an avastha. It's a spiritual state. When Amrit Naam becomes nectar in your body, the Khande Bate Amrit is like when you try to get water out of a well and you have to prime the pump. It's the primer to the final Amrit. If you haven't got the primer, you can't do it. So Guruji says, in Guruji's time, it was Charnapal. Guruji put his thumb in the water and he used to drink that. Then Guru says, because human Guru is going to be finished, Shabd Guru is going to be everlasting, the Maryada now is, anybody who wants to follow the Guru's path has to go through this method. So, to anybody who wants the final goal of union with God, to them that is minor. मैं तो चाहिए दिया जेरे क्वेश्चन कर दे राइट शक्किए ना चक्किए लोड हैगी या नहीं हैगी राइट they haven't understand गुरु सिक्खी किया बिन सतगुर के ना पाया बिन सतगुर के ना पाया सतगुर विच आव रखे होन कर प्रगट आख सुनाया without a true guru you cannot have union with Vaheguru. And don't get also bogged down with the outer Bana of Sikhi. That outer Bana is the fence, is the instruments of your battle that you're going to use to lift your inner character so that your soul can eventually rise to Vaheguru. If you treat them as burden, you'll never rise. You treat them as gifts. Hey, mere Gurudev is a present from Guruji. My Karpan is a present from Guruji. My Kishara is a present from Guruji. My Kanga is a present. My case ki dastar is a present. My case are a present from Guruji. How can I look after them? The Guruji is not mine. When a Sikh with a beard goes to a pub, doesn't he realize? I am his roop, and he takes his roop to a pub. Doesn't he think, should he go to them? And sometimes I think when BPN Sikhs go to cinemas, would Guru Gobind Singh go to cinema? Do we ask that question? No. Guru, who are you to ask? It's our body, we don't belong with it. Guru said, no. Tu mera roop hai. Khalsa mein roop hai. Khalsa mein hum karo namaz. Do we care? No. Peer pressure is called. Where's the Guru pressure? Where's the Guru's love? Well, how can you live in this world? You got to have friends. You can't upset them. Oh, so upset Guruji then. Fair enough, that's your choice. But the thing is, see, what you want is priceless. Alexander the Great searched for this nectar of everlasting, couldn't find it. All religions have been searching for this for thousands of years, they can't find it. Guru says, Surnar Munjan Amrit Khoj De. So, Amrit Gurde Paya. Paya Amrit, Gur Kripa Kinni, Sacha Man Vasaya. We don't know the value of Amrit. It was Amrit that made Bhai Joginder Singh Ji forsake his scalp. It was Amrit that made Bhai Mani Singh Ji have his joints cut to pieces. Yes.
I just got to ask now. So Jesus, Muhammad, Krishna, all these souls could still be living in somebody's body now on this planet?
I am not going to comment on other people's beliefs and their followers. What I will say is that in Baba Harnam Singh's book, there is a mention. Baba Harnam Singh in his Samadhi in that book says the souls of Muhammad, Buddha and Christ, they came to him and said, you are very lucky that you are following Guru Nanak's complete, perfect path. Our followers are not so lucky. Guru Nanak's path is complete and perfect, and the easy route to Waheguru. Now, I am of the belief that we should respect others' beliefs and not hurt their feelings, and leave them free to practice their belief as they wish to practice. We should be strong in our belief as a character, as a spiritual person, so that when they look at you saying, by God, I hate Sikhs, but that guy I can't hate, because he's such a nice person, he's such a sweet soul. You know, one person, Bhai Joginder Singh, who runs marathons, he's doing more for Sikhi in terms of spreading the appearance of a Sikh around the world than I or you put together will ever do. At 90 odd years age, he's running a marathon. Yes, sorry.
I think when you're doing the importance of the Persian, you might have said it, but I was not really. I don't think you explained the importance of the Ganga.
The Ganga?
Yeah, just what you
I did mention, I said, Guruji said that this gift of hair needs to be kept tidy. Twice a day you must comb it with this comb that I'm giving you. I did mention it. So, you probably missed it. Yes?
Earlier on you said Amrit is a lot easier. So, is that because we want to increase the Ginti now, or...?
No, it's because the public demand is that if you don't give it us now, we don't want it. We go somewhere else. So, yeah, it's sort of supply and demand situation. And you are right, the Amrit is become a lot easier, but Amrit will never become easier. I'm sorry. The actual giving of the Maryada has become easier, but also the benefit has come down as well, that the person will get. The more easy you make it, the less the benefit will be for the person receiving it. But I'm not advocating making it harder either, because I know in this day and age, it's better to somebody takes Amrit and commits himself to that path, rather than not having Amrit and he goes away totally. I rather prefer that than to say, nobody takes Amrit unless they prepare for 10 years and know that they by heart and you know, can do Amrit will over 10 hours. I would not advocate that at all. I would say, yes, have a basic test for the applicant for Amrit, but don't make it too harsh, because in this day and age, it's just the way we are. We need to sort of energize them. So look, this is Sikhi, this is what you're going to do.